ferocious opposition from the National Rifle Association. She says she got the best she could. If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in, I would have done it. I could not do that. The votes weren't here. Dianne Feinstein.
Yep. There you have it. California trash. And I'm not everyone in California is trash. That is me getting angry. But left coast scum telling me I'm going to turn my weapons in, but she's not, that proves it. She sounds like Adolf Hitler. She wants a gun registration. She wants to, if she'd have you turn them all in. That's not what her current legislation says, but that's what it's going to build on. Just like Nazi Germany in the Weimar Republic, about 1925, they instituted gun registrations. They know where all the guns are. So Hitler trots in. And by 1938, he disarmed everybody. 11 million people murdered. And that's what Dianne Feinstein wants. Because when you're telling me a failed criminal justice policy like gun control, it doesn't work because criminals don't obey the law. The only people who obey the law are the people 99.7% of the time not committing any crimes with their firearms. Turn them all in. You're at the mercy of the government. You're at the mercy of the criminals. Just as she was at the mercy of the criminals at one point. But what did she do? She defended herself. What are we to do? Call the police. Well, it's not the police's job to protect you. They protect society as a whole, collectively. They investigate crimes almost all the time after they've happened. Not beforehand and not during. And of course, people with this ideology would like to prosecute you for crimes that you haven't even done yet. That's what they're talking about with these increasing mental health checks, because they aren't doctors. And who are they to say what you're going to do with a firearm? Until you have been deemed by a court to be a true danger to yourself and society, absolutely not. No infringements on the Second Amendment, period. Get it through your head, filth. No infringements on my Second Amendment. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to hear from the words of a politician who was formerly known as leftist and his take on the Second Amendment. This is Mr. Garbo. This is Free Speech Radio. We'll be right back. And welcome back. This is Mr. Garbo. This is Free Speech Radio. I, within the past month, have discovered a wonderful website, www.gunfacts.org. Again, www.gunfacts.org. This is a free publication compiled by a researcher by the name of Guy Smith, who has also written a fantastic book called Shooting the Bull, which is available on Amazon.com. I picked up my Kindle copy for $2.99. For $2.99, you cannot beat that book. But Gun Facts, the publication's in its 6th edition, and I will post a link on firstamendmentmedia.com for anyone who wants to take a look at it in the future. But the publication there is free and can be downloaded in a PDF. And there's a wealth of information, 107 pages of quality information on gun control and the Second Amendment. Now, 50 years ago, President John Kennedy was viewed as a leftist, and in many respects, he was a leftist. However, he's not a leftist in what America calls leftists today. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with the left-right paradigm at all, but for simplicity, we'll leave it at that. was an ardent supporter of the Second Amendment, and he wrote in 1960 in this was an article called "Know Your Lawmakers" from Guns Magazine. He said two different things here. First, today we need a nation of Minutemen, citizens who are not only prepared to take arms, but citizens who regard the preservation of freedom as the basic purpose of their daily life, and who are willing to consciously work and sacrifice for that freedom. He went on to state later, by calling attention to a well-regulated militia, the security of the nation, and the right of each citizen to keep and bear arms, our founding fathers recognized the essentially civilian nature of our economy. Although it is extremely unlikely that the fears of governmental tyranny, which gave rise to the Second Amendment, will ever be a major danger to our nation, the amendment still remains an important declaration of our basic civilian-military relationships, in which every citizen must be ready to participate in the defense of his country. For that reason, I believe the Second Amendment will always be important. Truer words could never be spoken, ever. This is a man who is the last true president of our United States. He challenged the Federal Reserve. He challenged conventional wisdom. He believed in the Constitution and in freedom. And those were his words on the Second Amendment. I'm sure he had plenty of other ones, but I found that so interesting because the people of his party and of his progressive thinking now are destroying the nation when he was helping it. And of course, you can get into governmental tyranny completely because that man was assassinated. Now, I'm not getting into a theory of his assassination on this program, but of course we all know that that was not the sole work of Lee Harvey Oswald. Very interesting case. A lot of quote-unquote progressives, I would call them regressives, they claim that their crusade against our firearms is one of peace, but there are very few others who've ever lived in this world, at least in the modern era, more peaceful than Mahatma Gandhi. And, he knew tyranny. He knew British tyranny, just like our ancestors, our founding fathers knew British tyranny. And he said, among the many misdeeds of British rule in India, history will look upon the act depriving a whole nation of arms as the blackest. Because he was commenting on the British, of course, controlling the arms of the Indians, of course, to suppress their goals of independence and freedom. And that is what our government is doing to us. And before we lose that right, no one would ever want to see any violence in this country. Gun owners are peaceful people. I am a peaceful person. I don't believe in violence. I believe in self-defense, but I don't believe that violence is an appropriate way to get your point across. I believe in the pen. I believe the pen is mightier than the sword. And that's why you need to get out your pen or your computer or your telephone and talk to your elected officials. Remind them that they work for you. Remind them that you're the one who can contribute to their campaign. You're the one who can vote for them. And you don't want to see your rights eroded. And you want to see this country remain intact. And that you don't believe in censorship. And that you're not going to tolerate any infringements on your First Amendment rights. And that you believe that the Second Amendment protects all the other amendments. And again, please check out www.gunfacts.org and share that with your elected official. Maybe they haven't seen it. I know I share it with my personal elected officials. because I think that, well, they probably won't read it, or maybe some of them already have, but at least I've made the option available. I've maybe keyed them into something they didn't know before. And I think it's important because I think if they knew the truth about the evils of gun control, that they might think twice, or at least they know that the constituents are largely against it, and we're not going to put up with it. There are 300 million guns in this country. They're not going to get rid of them all, and we don't want them to fall in the hands of the bad guys, the criminals, and any tyrant who would choose to take office. I'm not saying that we have tyrants like other nations have known yet, but the biggest mistake that someone could ever make is pretending that history cannot repeat itself. And that's why I don't want history to repeat itself in this country, because too many other people turned a blind eye in the past. They said, oh, no, that couldn't happen here. They said that in Germany. The Jews said that in Germany. No, that couldn't happen here. That couldn't happen here. And look what happened to them. So things are getting scary. We all need to stick together through this. We have to create a unified front to tell our politicians peacefully, we're not going to tolerate any assaults on our rights. And at this point, if you assault our rights, we will not vote for you. We will not contribute to your campaign, and we will not support any corporations who do contribute to your campaign. I'll be interested in another episode of Free Speech Radio to share with you some of the corporations and other entities who are supporting gun control and the globalist agenda. If you're listening live in about 1 hour, 9 o'clock Eastern, in only 25 minutes, Alex Jones of Infowars.com will be on the Piers Morgan show to debate the Second Amendment and to confront the British tyrant in our midst. So, and I'm sure if you miss it live that you will be able to catch the highlights on YouTube or another outlet of your choice. And I encourage you to do that because Alex Jones is fighting for liberty. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I wish you peace, good luck, and liberty. Good night.